Hello, everyone. Welcome to our November Discover Arbonne and our global team Zoom. Super excited to be here today. There's so much that's exciting going on, and I'm really especially excited about having our guest speaker this evening, who's going to share her story and the business opportunity with Arbonne. Executive Regional Vice President Lenka Stolar. Lenka has been an actor. She is a playwright. She is a published author. She is a woman of many hats, and one of them is as an Arbonne independent consultant. And she has an amazing story with Arbonne that she will share with you. She is an award winner with Arbonne. She has yeah, she really has an amazing story to share with you, and she's going to share a business overview. So I'm excited to have her with us today, and I'm going to hand things over to Lenka.
Awesome. Thank you, Tanis. Hi, everybody. Happy November. I feel like, summer is always kind of like the calm before the storm in Arbonne because there tends to be, people are away and they're traveling and things like that. And then, we go into fall and I always think, gosh, my calendar just isn't booked enough because, summer can be a little bit working your business a little bit different where not everything's on the books the same way as usual. So I went into this fall going, oh my goodness, my calendar just doesn't have enough things on it. And now I'm like, good Lord, what did I ask for? It's a busy time of year in Arbonne. If you do the work right now, there is so much momentum. The fall is just a tremendous time. Whether, you're just starting in your business, you've been in business for a while, or you're just curious and looking at this business, it really is like a fantastic, there's just so much momentum and excitement around the fall. So yes, thank you, Tanis, for that introduction. I do currently live on Vancouver Island. I live in Langford, which is in a beautiful place. It's right kind of on the border of Metchosin and Langford. So when I go for a run each morning or go out for my hikes, I'm passing horses and sheep and pigs and usually people's lost chickens that I shoo back into their yards and things like that. So that's kind of what it looks like around me. But I am surrounded by lots of lakes and oceans and things like that within 5 to 10 minutes of every radius of me, which is why I choose to live where I live. Which is going to bring me a little bit of my story around location freedom, right? Because I do get to choose where I live. And it happens to be, by the way, a very expensive place to live. As anybody who lives on this island knows, it is a luxury to live over here in a lot of ways, even though it's not what it was like when I grew up here, which is quite interesting. But, Arbonne has given me that ability to choose where I live. And so I'm going to go through that a little bit. I'm going to go through a little bit about of course, our company, right, where it comes from and what we stand for. And in this story, though, that I give you some stuff, drop down some notes if you have. And again, for, consultants who have been in business for, even more than a few months, think about these goals over the next couple of months. I'm going to talk about that at the end of this call, a little bit about using this last couple of months of 2024. But also, at any point, just listen to this story. You're going to be able to take a look at earnings.arbonne.com to see what's typical and to see what average payouts are and things like that. But I'm going to tell you kind of what my journey was. This company is not a new company. It has been around since 1980. And I remember, when I started, which was 19 years ago, alongside with Dr. Gultash Samani and Dr. Tanis Gatens, we all kind of started that same year. And, it was brand new to Canada. We actually didn't even have an Arbonne Canada at that time. Like our products used to come from the United States and they took like 4 to 6 weeks. And nobody seemed to be upset about that. They'd be like, oh, don't worry, you'll get your products in like 2 months. And people are like, okay, great. Now if it takes more than, well, today, it's taken more than a few days for my order to come. And I'm like, where's my order? So, the things were slower moving and they came across a border and things like that back then. And we are now also in other countries. So we're in the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the UK, and Poland. So we're kind of all over. We're a global company that's going to continue to expand that way. And Canada was kind of the first expansion country. So we were a bit of Arbonne's guinea pig, I feel like. But I'll tell you, it taught me a lot of what this company stands for right from the very beginning, because they had our back completely, not just in the ethics that they already stand for, but like in terms of our product development and what we stand for in terms of, what makes Arbonne different. but also just as soon as I got to be a part of this company in the first few months, especially being this like remote country at the time, you saw how much this company appreciated us as consultants and how the field is the most important, aspect to them, their most valued possession, or not possession, but asset, I suppose, if you will. So I got to see what this company stood for right from the very beginning. And that was really, why I stayed. I came to Arbonne in the very beginning for product. My boys both had very sensitive skin and they were prone to, eczema and psoriasis, eczema specifically to them. And I had tried lots of different things. I myself personally was using skincare that I thought was what I considered to be good skincare at the time. I was using like a full anti-aging set from, the Bay. And I had tried everything for my boys' skin for their eczema, right? My big son was in skates 4 to 5 times a week and he had eczema all over his feet. So, we were just putting stuff on all the time for his cracked and bleeding feet and all these things. And we just struggled so much with it. And so I had tried lots of things through doctors and naturopaths and all kinds of stuff. And then it was my sister-in-law who said to me one day, because my whole family knew how much we struggled with my boy's eczema, especially my older one, especially Reese, and because it would be all over his body. And so everybody knew how much we struggled with that. And so my sister-in-law was like, hey, my neighbor, this woman, it was a doctor lady, Dr. Goltaj Samani, had just started her Arbonne business in Port Moody. And I did not know Goltaj, of course. And so, she said, you should, get some of this stuff, right? And I thought, oh my goodness, like, sure. First of all, I went, yes, because everything, by the way, in Arbonne, everything has a 90-day guarantee on it. So, and at the time, it was a 30-day guarantee, but to me, it didn't matter. I was like, great. If I can try something and if it doesn't work and I can get all my money back, it is a no brainer. Let's do this, right? And give it a try. So I was not planning on purchasing anything other than stuff for my boys. Goltaj suggested that I host because, of course, we spoil our hostesses rotten. So she said, one of the products that would help, I think, I can give to you for free. And also anything that you then want to purchase or try with our guarantee, you're going to get wholesale on. And I will tell you, at that time, I had just become a single parent to my two boys, and I was an actor, as Tanis mentioned, along with doing some other contract work things that I did. But that income as an artist goes up and down. And I was, at that time, landing work very frequently as an actor, which was great. I was very grateful for that. But, I was landing work every month. But it doesn't always go that way. I could go 6 months and not land work. So when people say you can get something for free and wholesale, I was like, okay, that sounds like something I can participate in. So, so I did host a little get together with only a couple people there. And nobody bought anything, but I did, right? I got the stuff for my boys and I bought our anti-aging skincare line. And, like I said, I had already been using something that I thought was really good for me, or that I thought would be considered a good skincare line, if you will. But I didn't really know that much about ingredients. And one of the things, 19 years ago, Arbonne's, ingredient policy is still the same as it is today. It has been from the very beginning in terms of foundation around being, sustainably sourced, holistic ingredients that, nourish the organ of your skin, both inside and out. But 19 years ago, people didn't really care that much about ingredients. They didn't really care whether things were tested on animals or if they were vegan or if they contained gluten or SLS and parabens and, all these kind of ingredients that we know so much about today. Back then, people weren't really that educated about it. They wanted to be, though. Like I would go do an Arbonne presentation, and people they'd turn it around and start looking at ingredients. And 19 years ago, people didn't do that all the time, but they wanted to know. So we were this great way of showcasing some fabulous products and telling them the benefits of why these are better ingredients for you than things you buy in the common marketplace, right? So people wanted to know these things. Now, every presentation, group event, or whatever that I do, everyone turns around every single packaging because people do know about ingredients and they know what they're looking for and they know what they're not looking for. They know what they're avoiding. And so Arbonne is a brilliant company that you can trust that way with our ingredient policy that has been around, like I said, for 46 years. But you'll also see right online or in a catalog, I have a catalog sitting right here, but right in the beginning, we have our over 2,000 banned ingredients that we will not use that are common in North American, both nutrition and in skincare. But also one of the things I'm really proud of is we are a B Corp. And for those of you who know what that is, you're already be excited about it. And if you do not, maybe I can get my camera to show the little B on there. But that little B with a circle around it means that we are certified as a B corporation. And that means, and we're not, obviously, we're a direct sales company, a network marketing company that has nutrition and skincare. But to be a B Corp is all kinds of, like there's bank, Citibank is one. I order Fresh Prep as a meal service plan that we use. And that's a B Corp. I just found out one of my other ones. Oh, actually, even this lovely wine that a friend bought me the other day is a B Corp wine. So what it means, though, is you start to see that label on all kinds of products and services that we use, is that company went through rigorous testing. There is a whole bunch of standards of which they have to, go through to get a point system in order to get certified, and you have to get recertified to keep that up. And with that point system, they're looking at not just our ingredients, how our ingredients are sustainably sourced, how our warehouses are run, how it's all manufactured, what are the emissions that are going out, or what are we giving back to the planet, how are employees treated within that corporation as well. So every single aspect of it, goes through this testing, if you will. I mean, it's not testing, but they got to check off all the boxes. And so, and you get points for that. And we happen to be a leader in the points for direct sales in nutrition and skincare in that. So I think that's just something to be super proud of. And the interesting thing is a lot of companies have to change some things, tweak up some things within their company to get that. We were already doing that stuff before they even, were coming out with what a B Corporation certification was. So super, super proud. And it just lets you know that as a consumer that you are purchasing something that is an ethical company that you can stand behind, and Arbonne will stand behind its products. So again, you could always return something if you didn't totally love it. So that's a little bit about our ingredients. I will follow some notes because I tend to be a bit of a talker. So I started 19 years ago. Not at that time, I was not looking for a career change. I had a career. I was writing, I was acting, and I had other projects. I always have projects on the go. I have been self-employed my entire life, really. I had my first business when I was 16 years old. While I was in high school, I had people who worked for me during the day while I was in school, and then I did houses on weekends and evenings. But I ran that company, and that was my first company. I think I've just always being self-employed it's just ingrained in me. It's definitely, I love controlling, having control over my working hours and my day and what that looks like. So, and I've had a production company, I had a print publication. We did 20,000 copies every 2 weeks to 500 locations across the lower mainland. Ding. And among other things. And being an artist, of course, you're always self-employed. So I had a very full calendar. Right? My calendar had 0 empty spaces on it. I was a single parent of my 2 boys, obviously very active that way. And I'm the field trip mom and the hockey mom and all the things. And so time was not something that I felt like I had. Money was most certainly not something that I had any flexibility around, is what I felt like. At that time, and I did not have any support around me as much as because all of my friends and family were on Vancouver Island, but at that time I was still living on the mainland. I was living in North Burnaby, and so I really, like, my friends and family that would be able to watch my kids and things like that weren't really around me, so I didn't feel like I was set up to put another thing on my calendar. But what happened was I fell in love with product, which often happens with our clients. And I started telling people, right? Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I told my friend Marcy, who's a nurse, about the products for eczema, like things that she could maybe use because her eczema was so bad on her hands. People started noticing my skin and going, what are you doing with your skin? And I'm like, I know, right? Like, it's this stuff. I don't even think I said the word Arbonne properly, to be honest. Like, I think I was calling it something Arbonne or something. I don't even know. But it changed my skin in that first, week, even week or 2 weeks. And people were noticing, and I noticed my skin. And I thought, oh my gosh, okay, this stuff that I went and spent hundreds of dollars on, before Arbonne, then I looked at the ingredients and I was like, those ingredients do not compare at all. And they were the same price. So I just fell in love with products. So I was just telling people. And then I was telling Goltaj, oh my gosh, this stuff is working and I love it. And, yay. And I'd send her referrals. And like, my mom wants this now, and Marcy wants some. And, my friend Janet, who came to a party and like came to my party and didn't buy anything, but then she saw my skin change. And she was like, hold on a second, maybe I do want some of that. So Goltaj, I had signed up at that time. We didn't have a preferred client membership, which I'll talk about. You could only get a discount if you were a consultant. And so, of course, discount made perfect sense to me. So I signed up as a consultant just to shop at a discount. But Gultaj, being as wonderful as she is, of course, saw something great in me in terms of how Arbonne could fit into my life. When I thought I had no time, she showed me, here's how you could do it, though. You could fit it in. You can bring Arbonne to the hockey arena with you. Like we just bring, and plus I was going back and forth from Vancouver Island to see my friends and family every month. Well, now she was like, well, you could write your trips off. And, she was giving me a few ideas. And I was like, well, isn't that nice of you, Dr. Lady? But I'm good. I have a career, thanks. So I wasn't really interested. But she did say, Tanis, of course, was in town. She was visiting because Tanis and Gultaj went to medical school together, and Tanis was up in Canada visiting. And so Gultaj said, why don't we have a cup of tea with Tanis? And I will tell you, whenever somebody is curious about how this business works, I always say, just book that cup of tea for, that 15-minute, half an hour cup of tea, or of course we can do a Zoom or a call or whatever, FaceTime, it doesn't matter. But do it, because I think sometimes we say no to things because we don't really understand what they are, right? And to take a look and see if it's a fit, it only costs you half an hour of your time, right? And then you kind of know. And for me, I like it when people just know, even if they're a yes, great, we give you information and figure out what you want to do. If they're a no, I'm like, great, take me off your list, right? So you don't have to think about Arbonne anymore. You kind of know your information and how it works. And when and if that time comes around, you'll have that information, right? So I do always think, oh my gosh, if you're ever curious, always just book that cup of tea to get more information, or coffee, or go for a walk or whatever with your consultant. So I am really glad that I did that day. And that day, Tanis and Gultaj asked me, a couple of questions, but there was a couple that I really, really liked. So, and I ask the same questions when I have a cup of tea with somebody. So one of the things that Tanis said to me, because she knew my calendar was very, very busy, and and I was also doing fundraising stuff. Like, you guys, when I say I didn't have a lot of time, I mean like crazy full calendar. And Tana said, if you were to put Arbonne onto your calendar, if you were to find time within your week, here and there, if you were to put Arbonne, find, 7 hours or whatever, to put Arbonne on your calendar in your week, how much would you want to make that worth it to you? So that was a really good question, because it wasn't just how much do you want to make, it's if you're going to do this, what would make it worth it to you? And my answer was $1,200 a month. And the reason why my answer was that at the time was because that's how much my rent was in the beautiful little co-op that I lived in North Burnaby, Watlakainem. Beautiful place to live, nestled in forest. But it was this little co-op, and my rent was $1,200 a month. So I thought, you know what? If I could weave Arbonne into my life and make my rent money, then it gives me a lot more, flexibility, and I don't have to worry so much maybe where my other income is coming from all the time. Like, that would give me some relief, I felt like, right? And I could fit some time in, and I can bring some fizz sticks to hockey with me, like, sure, I can. I can bring Arbonne on the ferry with me back over to Vancouver Island. I can do that. So we kind of talked about that. And I said, well, is that possible? And Tana said, well, yeah, of course it is. And she said, it's possible to make a lot more than that, actually. And I said, well, that's just fine. I'm not looking for a career. But $1,200 a month, I could probably, I could use that. And so then Tana asked me as well, though, even above and beyond that 1,200 a month, if I could have anything I wanted 5 years from now, if I could design my life to look like anything I wanted it to 5 years from now, what would that be? And I love asking that question to other people. And I loved being asked it because no one had ever asked me that before. And I am a big dreamer person. I think to be an entrepreneur and to be an artist, you kind of do have to be a bit of a big visionary kind of person. So I am that, but I didn't see how Arbonne was a vehicle with that. But Tana said to me, so, what would you have? And or what would you like your life to look like? And I did know the answer to that as soon as I let my brain go there, is I wanted to own a house. And at that time, nobody was giving this single mom actress a mortgage. They're still not giving them away to single mom actresses 20 years later. But I always wanted to own a house since I was a little girl. And so I wanted to own a house. I wanted to be able to take my kids on airplanes with me. I had been quite privileged in my life to have work that had me travel quite a bit. I got to go to great places, Australia and New Zealand and Chicago and San Francisco and New York and all these great, amazing places. But every time I would go, my boys would take me to the airport and wave goodbye and see me off. And they would never get to go on the airplane with me. And then back then, we didn't even have smartphones where I could just like FaceTime them anywhere I was. So I would be on Skype with my laptop, holding it up against windows in my hotel so they could see where I was. And every time I was so sad because I wanted their butts on the seats with me. I wanted them to be in those places. I wanted them to see all these amazing places I was going. And so I wanted to be able to do that. And among some other things, but those were probably the main driving ones. So at that time when I started, so I did decide to start my Arbonne business. I trusted that we had this, guarantee, worst case scenario, I can send all my products back if I'm really unhappy, but which, believe me, I was willing to do. Like I said that, I'm like, I'm sending it all back if I'm not happy with this. But I also knew to give it a good college try the way that they said to, because Arbonne has a system to it. Like we have a system. Arbonne supports you as you start your business. But we do as a team as well. So there are systems to everything. All you're doing is plugging into it. And for me, having been self-employed in my life for a very long time, that was brilliant. Like everything else I had done when I ran After Dark Entertainment Calendar, my cost of operating without paying anyone, including me, was $12,000 to $14,000 a month just for print and distribution. I didn't have a mentor to show me how to do all those things. I had to develop every single marketing material, every pamphlet, every ad, everything I had to create. Where Arbonne came with it created. The products are created, the guarantees are in place, the shipping's in place, everything is done, and the system's in place. With you just telling, your sponsor, your mentor, here's what I want from Arbonne, and those goals can change all along the way, and we can design it so that it fits your work week and it fits your lifestyle, and of course what your goals are. So I did jump in, and I jumped in with both feet, and I did exactly what they told me to do. I did not make it up and make it all new and be like, oh, I'm going to do it this way instead. No, I did exactly what they said. I did the exact amount of activity that they said to do for what my goals were. And of course, so that was in the summer 19 years ago. And my first month, I completed district manager, our first level of management. And then went into, so my next month I did first step area manager, which is our second level of management. And that's when I received my last district manager paycheck, which did come as a paper paycheck back then. And now it's directly deposited into your account. But I got that paycheck, and it was like $1,208 or something like that. And I thought, holy Sam, I made my goal. Like that first goal that I came for, I achieved. And that's when it clicked for me, that where I kind of understood more of what Tanis and Gultaz were saying to me before about repeat sales and things like that, is that just because I hit that goal, I'm at 1,200, I'm not just going to stay there. If I keep going and keep doing what I was already doing, it's going to keep growing, right? I had people who like loved their stuff and was already telling a friend that they wanted it too, or people had booked a party for my launches, and those ones booked out. So there was other activities. So you're not just staying where you are, you're building that momentum and a client base. And by then, like I mentioned earlier, I got to see the ethics of the company a little bit too. So I was like, this is a really good gig. Like, I get this. I'm a smart girl. I'm a smart cookie. So that's where I figured out, now I understand what Tanis is saying, that it's not about the $1,200 goal, that if I want it, there is a much bigger business there, that if I just keep going, it'll keep growing. And what I say to, when Tanis asked me about that 5-year picture, those are what I call your win the lottery dreams, right? And so all of a sudden, those win the lottery dreams by owning a big, beautiful home, back on Vancouver Island, and traveling with my kids all over, and all those things, all of a sudden now they weren't just like the what ifs, and if I could one day, they were literally on my to-do list, and I was taking them off the shelf and making them happen, right? And so that was, not only is that empowering and exciting, but it changed my boy's life. It changed where we live, all kinds of stuff. Plus, I was having so much fun with my team, growing and learning and traveling and all the good things. And if you don't like to travel, you don't have to travel anywhere. You can do Arbonne right, sit in your butt wherever you want to be. But I did like to travel a lot with my kids and my family, so I got to do that. So that's when my goal changed, and I'll kind of wrap this up a little bit, but I want you to think about when we go through those levels of management. And again, you can look at earnings.arbonne.com to see what is typical, but a district manager is making a few $100s to $1,000 a month. What does $500 a month do for your family? And right now, we all know the cost of living is tremendously high. Things that things that used to be like reasonably affordable, we're now like, oh my, like, never buy bacon unless it's on sale. Good Lord, right? And if you're not a vegetarian, but my guy likes to eat bacon. I don't eat bacon, but he does. And I'll tell you, I won't buy unless it's on sale, because it's insane how expensive things are. Sip of water. So we know that. So even that little bit, like that $500 or $700 a month, makes a difference in somebody's life. It absolutely can. And then as an area manager, that's where I hit in the first couple of months in my business. And that's, $1,000 to $4,000 a month. So when I was an area manager making my $2,500, $3,500, $4,000 a month as a single mom, weaving that into my life, that's a game changer. Okay, that is more than just covering my rent. That is when we were taking trips. That's when I could start, saving for things. And I did. I started saving for a house immediately. So, that's where you get, whether it's putting a new, roof on your house, or you're saving for retirement, or you're taking those trips, or whatever it is, you get a lot more flexibility in your financial life when you add that into the income you're currently already making, right? Another $3,000, another $4,000 a month makes a massive difference in anyone's life. So then we kept going, and with about 2 years, 24 months, 23 months in business, I promoted to the regional vice president level. Which is, in our business, you can get a white Mercedes-Benz bonus that way. And you can also do it as a cash bonus, whatever you like. I chose a white Mercedes-Benz, and I love my Benz. I'm on my 5th one now, I think. But so there is a whole program for that. But that is when, as soon as we went region, it was the first time I took my boys on an airplane. We went to Maui, and it wasn't the paid for by Arbonne Maui trip yet, because I hadn't. When you become a national vice president, there is a Maui trip for NVPs that my boys and I went on every single year after that. But that first year as a regional vice president was not paid for by Arbonne, but we still went to Maui. I took my mom and my kids for being so supportive while we built a business. Um, and if you ask Kaz and my kids, like, because believe me, sometimes it was a juggling act, right? We were stuck putting something else on their calendar that wasn't already there, or sorry, on top of what already was there, I should say, right? So there was some adjustments we had to make, right? There was some things I had to miss once in a while that my kids were in, or things like that. I wasn't at every single hockey game during that time. I was at every single hockey tournament, though, and all the field trips and things like that. But there was some adjustments we had to make for a short period of time. And so, to repay my family for all their love and support for all of that stuff, they knew what we were working towards. We were working towards going to Maui. And my kids do not remember the uncomfortableness of adjusting a few things in life, but they do remember that trip to Maui. 100% they do. So, and then we just kept going, like, really, my team was growing. I was promoting other VPs, and it is the best gig when you're promoting other people and seeing them achieve their goals and going after what excites them. It is just the best feeling ever. And so momentum just kept growing, of course. And so in 3 years, I promoted to top level of management, which is a national vice president. And that's when I made some location freedom choices at that point. So I did buy my big, beautiful home out here in Victoria, move my island back, or move my family back to my island, so that my kids could grow up here. I wanted them to have a portion of their life growing up where I grew up because it's just stunning here. And so I had the ability to work from anywhere. I was able to buy a beautiful home over here, which meant the world to me. And that changed all of that. So then, years later, fast forward, we've been doing all the things in Arbonne, promoting lots of people, having a blast. And what keeps me in it now, 19 years later, is I love my location freedom. I love the fact that I can work from absolutely anywhere. And I love that I design my day. I sleep in the morning. Now my kids are a little bit older, they're not little ones anymore, but I always say, I sleep to my eyeballs open. I wake up with my eyeballs open. I don't wake up to alarm clocks. I wake up on my own with my kitties and my dog. And, I start my day every day. I have, how I have my morning. I do my meditation in the morning. I go for a hike with girlfriends almost every single day of the week because that's my lifestyle and how I and with my clients. I shouldn't just say girlfriends, I mean my clients, right? So I incorporate that because that is my lifestyle into how I work, which gives me a lot of joy in my work and leverages my time with everything that I'm doing. There was a point, Arbonne, they used to say, or they still say, but for a long time I heard a lot of trainers talking about preparing for impact, that you never know when something might happen in life that you need a plan B or you need to adjust something very quickly. And we all think that that's never going to happen to us. 8 years ago, I suffered a traumatic brain injury from just a fall, to be honest, like nothing that was like predictable or anything like that. And it did change everything. For those next few years, I went through intensive treatments in order to heal my head injury. Those treatments they were time consuming and I wasn't able to work the way that I typically worked, but I got to adjust my business for how and what I needed at that time. And those treatments were very expensive and I was able to afford them because of my paychecks as well. So sometimes we don't know that's going to happen in life, but I can't imagine what it would have looked like if I didn't have this business during that time. And my community that supported me through all of that time. Now I've done all the treatments and all the things, and I'm in a very different place. So now I've gone through a lot of that healing. I still have to adjust with some of my, medical needs that way. So my business adjusts with me for it, right? That's the beautiful thing. And I now have these, like right now I'm pitching a television series and a book series and working on all kinds of fun stuff. And this business gets to be a vehicle that helps fuel all of those extra projects, like those projects that are really important to me and all my next in life, now that I'm through the stage of my kids being little ones and that. And I will say this too about your kids. They watch you. And my boys watch me be an entrepreneur and get through goals and build from nothing to everything. And, that impact will go with them forever. Both my boys are very entrepreneurial spirits and they always will be because of that. They learned what growing up with a community of fantastic women and men, of course, but a lot of women, and they know that they can achieve goals. They've seen all the stickies written down on my walls and our dream boards that when we, take them down, we've achieved everything on it and we make a new one, right? And that is something that you can't teach your kids without the doing, right? And it's such an incredible gift to them. So that's what I'm going to say about all of those things. I don't know if I missed anything that was super important in all of that around the business, but you can always, if you are a guest on this call, talk to the consultant who invited you, book a three-way. Just, I love doing them with my team, right? We like to do them together. It's always great to have extra brains in the mix to answer questions and all those good things. But it's a pretty great journey. And it is a better time than even when we started, me and Gultej and Tanis, way back when, because timing and trends were not the same as they are today. And timing and trends today are healthy, holistic approaches to living. People are much more conscious about stress in their bodies, about their gut health, about how they're and caring very much about how they're spending their time these days, how valuable our time is to us. And the fact that we can use social media and devices and things to be anywhere and everywhere to do our businesses is also not what we had 19 years ago. So it is actually an even better time than when we started, for sure. So Tanis, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Oh, Lenka, thank you so much for sharing. And Gultosh has put in the chat that that watching Lenka make her dreams come true has been a highlight of her business. And I have to second that. It's been a highlight for me as well. And thank you so much for sharing with us today.